While other luxury car makers are still building their first hybrids, Lexus hybrids have traveled 5.5 billion miles. And that's quite a head start.
Digg Dialogg with Grant Hill. Sponsored by the Lexus Hybrids. Grant Hill is one of the most popular and talented players in the NBA. After leading his Duke team to 2 national titles, he had an epic first season in the NBA, scoring over 1,000 points and being named Rookie of the Year. In the years that followed, he starred in 7 NBA All-Star games, helped bring home the gold for the U.S. in the Atlanta Olympics, and often led the Pistons, Magic, and Suns in points, rebounds, and assists. Now he's sitting down with Digg to answer your questions. This is Digg Dialogg with Grant Hill.
Hello, and thank you for joining us for our 17th episode of Digg Dialogg. My name is Matt Van Horn from Digg, and I'm here today with Grant Hill. Grant, thanks so much for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me.
I know this is a really exciting time for the Digg community to be talking to you. You've got NBA playoffs coming up very soon. You've got game tonight, Duke Butler. Good luck.
Thank you. We need it.
So anyway, I wanted to tell you a little bit about how Digg Dialogg works.
Okay.
So the gist is, I didn't pick any of these questions, nor did any editors. There are no editors at Digg. The people are the editors.
Okay.
So the 40 million users of Digg.com went online and submitted lots of questions. And over the last week, they've been digging up and digging down and burying questions. And so the top questions have risen to the top.
Okay.
So pretty much I'm just a puppet for the Digg community.
All right, so I shouldn't get mad at you.
Exactly.
Okay.
You can.
I can. Okay.
But anyway, on to our first question.
Okay.
So this was submitted by Yuppie Duppy. Grant, I grew up the street from you in Reston, a couple blocks up Soapstone. You had a Tony Hawk skateboard that you had run over and tried to sell to me when I was in 5th grade. Why did you try and scam me? Just kidding, you admitted it was run over.
Yeah.
I'll never forget seeing you shoot hoops on your garage when you didn't even have a basketball hoop. I met you at Wendell Bird's basketball camp and you gave me awesome advice that I'll never forget. Practice what you're worst at and pretend that you're in a game situation when you're practicing. Those 2 pieces of advice have always helped me. Thanks, from a fellow Seahawk and Restonian.
Great. I don't know if that was a question or not, but I'll say 2 things, or a couple things. One, I did have a Tony Hawk 10-inch skateboard, and I did have it run over by a car in my neighborhood. So
what happened? Was it your fault?
No, it might have fallen. I might have fallen off it or something, and the car was coming down the street. And
okay.
So anyway, and I do remember trying to sell it. I don't remember who Yuppie Duppy is.
Yeah, do you remember Yuppie Duppy?
I'm curious. I remember trying to sell it. I don't remember who I was trying to sell it to, but I want to ask Yuppie Duppy why didn't he put his real name, you know? And so that's first and foremost.
Maybe he's hiding.
Maybe he is hiding. And he could have come up with a better alias. But no, those were certainly good times. And you know, growing up in Reston, I do remember being a counselor at the South Lakes High School where I went to the basketball camp in the summer. And have an opportunity to work with a lot of kids. And I'm glad that somebody listened. It sounds like he listened to some of the advice I gave him.
Do you still give that advice?
No, I haven't given that bit of advice in a while, but and I haven't been back to the camp in a while, but those were certainly a lot of fun times growing up in Reston, and it's good to know that a fellow Restonian is following the career and following us here on Digg Dialogg.
There you go. Can you do any sweet tricks on a skateboard?
You know, it's funny, my daughter now is 8 years old. She's a bit of a tomboy, but she's into skateboarding, and she doesn't actually skateboard. We don't allow her to have one, but she has a Tony Hawk game. And my wife, who's a singer, she was recording or rehearsing with her band a couple years ago at a rehearsal hall. And this was in DC in the summertime, and there was a skateboard in there. So I got on the skateboard and I started doing all these, you know.
Are you allowed to get on skateboards?
Yeah, well, you know.
Would Steve Kerr approve that right now?
Well, probably not during the season, but I was a free agent.
Okay,
but I'm doing like 360s, 180s, and just, you know, skating around, and like everybody's shocked that I can do this, you know. And one, I'm so tall, and 2, most of the people there don't skate. So I did try it when I was younger and realized that basketball is better suited for me.
That's great. All right. Question number 2, submitted by Metallic Crow. For someone that's been in the league for quite some time now, compare the NBA from then to now. Wow,
great question. The game has changed a great deal. You know, I think obviously the rules have changed. It was probably a little bit more physical when I first came into the NBA.
What rules?
Well, there's rules that the league has put in place to try to get more scoring.
Okay.
You know, for example, on defense, you can't use your arms, and when you're guarding a perimeter player, you can't hold, you can't grab. So they call more fouls. They've changed some of the illegal defensive rules. So that's from the technical standpoint. The game too is you have a lot of younger players. You know, when I first came into the league, more guys had gone to college for 3-4 years.
You went for 4 years. And you won 2 championships.
Won 2 championships in college and stayed for 4 years. And now you have guys who don't go to college. And so it's a little bit different from that standpoint. I'm not saying it's worse or better, but you know, you had more guys who at least had some college experience. The AAU culture, the high school culture is different than when I was coming out. So as a result, these kids had different experiences than what we've had back in the day. So, you know, look, the bottom line is just like anything in life, you know, things will continue to evolve, continue to change, and the league is doing that now. And, you know, I like it. I like the league. I like where it's at. I like the game, the personalities. You have guys now who have grown up in a viral world and used to, you know, the YouTubes and, you know, all the different things that are out there. And so, you know, guys are comfortable on this platform, on this stage of being an NBA athlete. Guys have different sort of mindsets, and it's fun. It's fun as an older player to be around that and to see the young players and the different enthusiasm and a different style of approaching things that they have.
Right. What about technology in that? What about like Twitter? You're a pretty active Twitter user. Steve Nash is pretty active. I think Shaq probably got the team excited about it last year. How do you think that's changed things? And
yeah, well, I mean, actually, I knew Shaq was on Twitter. I didn't really get into Twitter until this year when my teammate Jared Dudley, he'll want me to say his Twitter account.
Are you going to give him the plug?
At Jared Dudley 619. So you got to check that out if you get a chance. But he really got us excited. He was really into it. And it is fun. You know, I like it more than the other, like the Facebooks and the MySpaces of the world. My wife is on it, and it's fun to be able to communicate with your friends, with your followers, with your fans. And so technology, I mean, you know, I think about when I came into the NBA and sort of where we are now with, you know, I mean, the internet was just kind of starting, getting kicked off, and, you know, the World Wide Web and all that, you know, it was all kind of new to us. Yeah, so, I mean, it was all very new, and now you can get information on your, you know, on your device instantly, you know, and before you had to kind of wait for the newspaper and so forth. So it is amazing. I can watch other NBA teams play on NBA League Pass on my phone, you know, and so it's just like, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy, but it's fun, and it's fun to be playing in this era and to be able to compare and contrast, you know, what it's like now compared to what it was like 16 years ago.
And what is your phone?
My phone, I have an iPhone, just a regular
What's your
iPhone.
favorite app?
My favorite app, it's pretty bad, but Spider Solitaire.
Spider Solitaire.
I'm pretty boring. So,
all right.
Yeah.
So check it out. Spider Solitaire.
Yeah.
Grant Hill's favorite.
My
Official
favorite,
endorsement.
Yeah. I play it, you know, it's funny. I play that game before every game. I have a routine. I go through my routine, usually with about an hour on the clock before the game starts. I'll sit at my locker and play Spider Solitaire for about 20 minutes.
That's awesome.
Don't ask.
That's cool. So segue. So some people might think that might be weird. All right. So the next question is submitted by Jay Pooner. Question number 3: Is Steve Nash weird?
No, not at all. Steve Nash is not weird. You know, Steve Nash is he's really a fun guy. He's got a great sense of humor, a very dry sense of humor. You know, he's done some videos that have been posted on YouTube that he's kind of orchestrated and directed and put together with involving the teammates. But Steve's a serious guy, but a lot of fun to be around. Really has a good heart. I wouldn't put him in the category as weird or anything like that at all. I think he's pretty level-headed considering all the success that he's had throughout his career.
Right.
Yeah.
What about this guy? What about that Steve Nash? Or maybe that one? Have you seen that guy before?
Yeah, well, I haven't. You know, that's not weird. That's fun. You know, that's all those pictures. He's having fun. So you know, that's you know, the thing about Steve. I think sometimes when you become a superstar athlete or a celebrity, a lot of people, are afraid to make fun of themselves. And Steve, he'll laugh at himself. He doesn't care, and so he's a lot of fun to be around.
All right, next question, submitted by Rocky Cosmos. Question number 4.
I'm loving the names.
Does Grant Hill still drink Sprite?
Does Grant Hill drink Sprite now? No, I don't. I did for a very long time before I was paid to say that, and I did when I was getting paid to say that. But I stopped drinking soft drinks a while ago. And my kids like to drink it, and I have a Sprite machine in our house from my old.
Is this always stocked?
It's
put beer in there or something?
No, it's stocked. But I pretty much only drink water. I think when you get older, you gotta kind of stay healthy when you're trying to play in sports, and so I don't drink Sprite anymore. Sorry about that.
But when you did you ever pregame ritual, the Spider Solitaire of then, and Sprite? Have you ever actually had it game day at all?
Nah, I might have had Sprite, might have had a Sprite or a soft drink on the day of a game, with lunch before the game. But I didn't. It wasn't part of my superstitious routine, pregame routine or anything like that. No.
That's cool. What else is part of the routine other than?
It's funny. I think pretty much. By the time I get to the arena, it's just everything is just a routine. You get there at a certain time, you get dressed, you get with the trainer, you come on the court. I come on this very court. I don't go on the main court. I come right here on this basket in our practice court, and I do some shooting. And I do it with 90 minutes on the clock, and I have a certain routine that I do. Do that for about 10 minutes, and I'll go in the weight room, and I'll do some stuff in there to get my body warm. I'll use the restroom. I'll put my, everything is this sort of routine at certain times.
Yeah.
I'll drink water with 60 minutes on the clock, and then play my Spider Solitaire for 10 minutes and help me relax, or maybe frustrate me. Who knows?
Next question submitted by Miko Yoski. Do you play NBA video games? Do you play NBA 2K10 or NBA Live 2010?
I don't play NBA video games. Last NBA video game I played was Double Dribble.
Double Dribble.
That was with Nintendo back in 1991.
Wow.
So I'm dating myself here. I don't play a lot of video games, but I will play. I used to play NBA Hang Time. Actually, I have the Hang Time game machine. I have it in storage. But when I lived in Detroit, I used to play that a lot. So back in 96, 97, I play Madden football, but I only play it when my father-in-law comes to town. And so when he comes to town, he plays Madden football.
Right.
And so we'll play against each other. I'll play with my Cowboys. He'll play with his Detroit Lions.
Right.
And usually I beat him.
Even without practicing?
Yeah, I used to play back in the day. So once you know how to play it, you can play it. It's all the same. You got to figure out every year to have the new, tricks and this, that, and the other. But that's the only time I play it. And when we play all day. Like we'll sit and play, we'll play 3 or 4 games.
Right.
And so, but no, I don't play basketball. For some reason, I never really got into the basketball.
Got it. So the follow-up questions were, do you play as yourself, and did you play NBA Jam during the 90s?
No, I don't. Well, I did play with myself when I played NBA Jams, so that was always fun.
There you go. Dunk it from the 3-point line.
Yeah, dunking from goaltend. You're on fire, all that stuff. So those were fun times. I think they're coming back with the NBA Jams.
I think
or
so.
NBA
I read that
Hangtime.
for the Wii, I think.
Yeah, so that'll be fun.
Next question submitted by the Shane Man. Trash talking is a big part of the NBA. What's the most obscene comment you've heard in your tenure as a pro basketball player? You don't have to mention who said it.
The most obscene, trash talking does exist. I don't think it's as bad as it was in the 80s. I've heard trash talking, I've heard certain guys, not so much now. You can't really do it so much now because the league has really made it a point to do away with it.
Yeah.
So you'll get a technical or even kicked out of a game. But, I can't think of anything obscene. Guys have cursed and sworn at each other and stuff like that. But
I think KG and Rasheed Wallace, they're always on TV for different things. But
yeah, Rasheed doesn't talk trash. I knew Rasheed when he was in high school, so he doesn't really talk trash. He's usually talking to the officials.
Right.
He's usually KG will say stuff, but he's everybody knows he's just talking. It gets him going and gets him excited.
Right. So just leave him be.
Yeah, but nobody's really trash talking or saying anything. They might swear at each other, curse, or call each other MF or whatever. But that's it. That's nothing crazy.
Have you had any bad technical fouls?
Oh yeah, I've had techs. I've been kicked out. before.
For what? What's your worst that you were just like, this is ridiculous?
You know, I mean, I was kicked out in Detroit a few times. I mean, it happens. You know, you get frustrated, you know, with a call, and you know, and you might complain or say too much to the official, and they may have had enough, and you know, so it happens. You know, where everybody's gotten a technical at some point or thrown out at some point. So, but nothing obscene or nothing. You know, just frustration with either how you're playing or how you feel the game is being called.
Right. Next question, submitted by Jumby007. What do you see yourself doing after hanging up the sneakers?
It's a good question. You know, when I was younger and I lived in Detroit, and I was always consumed with the idea of what I'm going to do, when I'm done, and I was always sort of worried about that, because I knew, you know, my dad played in football, was in professional sports, and I kind of knew going in, obviously it would end, but it ends faster than you think.
Right.
And then I got hurt, and I spent so much time trying to come back from the injury and overcoming that. And you know, these last few years that I'm playing, you know, I'm not so consumed or so worried about it. I just want to enjoy these last years. Right. You know, I think I have options. I certainly, broadcasting is a possibility, potentially working with a team. You know, I have done some, you know, we own some apartment complexes that we've developed and have done real well with, and you know, certainly are income producing. So the possibility of the business world, although that climate has changed a lot in the last 2 or 3 years, and maybe even possibly getting in with the team as an ownership group. So
there you go.
I've been fortunate. I certainly have done well, and I've been smart with what I've made, and you know, I don't want to map out or script out the future. Right. I kind of want to take it as it comes, and be ready to take advantage of whatever opportunities present themselves. But really, just focus in on enjoying, you know, these last whatever year, 5 years, however long I'm going to play, and worry about the next career when the time comes.
About Dancing with the Stars, politician, any of that stuff?
I mean, you know, politics is something I certainly gave a few campaign speeches on behalf of President Obama when he was running. I also did when Senator Kerry was running for president in 2004. Growing up in the D.C. area, politics was something that was the topic of conversation at the dinner table. That's something that's of interest. So, you know, I do have a lot of interest. It's just a matter of, you know, sort of figuring out when you're done what it is you want to do. Focusing in and going about it the same way you go about how you prepare and tackle your job as an athlete. So, you know, whatever it is, hopefully it would be something I enjoy and something that's fulfilling.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Next question, submitted by Namslam. Grant, what other talents do you possess other than your mad basketball skills?
Mad skills. You know, as a hobby, I mean, well, not everybody, a lot of people know I play the piano and grew up playing. I played on Letterman years ago. But one thing, when I got hurt about 10 years ago, I started learning how to use musical equipment and studios. My wife sings, so obviously I'm around her and I see what she does when she's in the studio. And so nowadays, with a laptop and a little keyboard, which I can travel with, I can actually make music, make songs, make tracks, or what have you. So,
what type of music? Like,
you know, R&B, hip hop, you know, and people don't associate that with me doing hip hop tracks. But
have you sung any tracks with your wife and they're recorded secretly on your laptop?
Nah, I've never done anything with her. I mean, she's more R&B, more melodic. Mine's more kind of what you would hear in a club, or you know, something. Which is a lot easier to do, but it's fun, you know. It's you know, it's an art form, I guess. It's something that's it's relaxing. It takes your mind off of whatever you're doing. It can consume you, but it's something that I think when I let people hear some of the music, they're shocked. You know, they're like, "Wow, I never would have thought." And obviously, in the same sort of art world, also, you know, my wife and I collect art, and we're avid African-American art collectors. We have, you know, a collection that's been on tour and it's been cataloged in a book.
Wow.
So that's something that, you know, it's not really a talent, but it's something that's sort of a hobby, a passion of mine. So, you know, those are two things that initially come to mind when you ask that question.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Next question, submitted by Ian10908. Charles Barkley recently said on PTI that he believes the standard of play in the NBA has decreased since his day. As a player who's been in the NBA for both eras, would you agree that players today are less technically talented and maybe don't try as hard?
Well, you know, I don't want to be one of those guys that, you know, says my era was better than
you can. It's
than
okay.
the current era. I think there's some differences, and I think there's talent. I think a lot of the guys today are super talented, but I don't think, on a whole, a majority know how to play the game. And I think a lot of that comes from the early years. You know, the AAU culture. You know, I think, you know, going to college. You know, Barkley went for 3 years, and the thing about college is not about necessarily going and getting your degree, although that's certainly important. It's not even about being in an environment socially with people who are trying to get a degree and trying to educate themselves. But I think the difference now is you know, when you go to school, when I played at Duke, no one's bigger than the program at Duke. And, you know, when you go to college and play, you're a part of something bigger than yourself. Right. And you get that foundation. You get taught. You're in an environment where you're there to learn on the court and off the court. And when you come to the NBA, if you don't have that as a foundation, it can become very selfish. All of a sudden, we promote players, guys are making money, you have superstars, there's a sense of entitlement that can come with that. And so I think the one thing that I think guys are missing is that foundation you get from going to school and getting kicked out of practice, you know, having to run laps, you know, getting in trouble, you know, all the different things, the learning, growing, you know, and going through those steps. And the AAU culture is different. You know, when I was coming up, the person who was sort of leading my development was my high school coach, who happened to be a teacher, who happened to be educated. Right. Now you have AAU coaches who aren't teachers, who are kind of like street agents. And some are very good, and some do a great job, but some, I think, are doing the kids a disservice. Right. So anyway, to answer your question, they're coming into the league missing some of those steps, sort of different than what we went through. The talent is all there, but learning how to play with one another, learning how to be in a team environment, learning that it's not just about you, but it's about the guys that are on the court, I think is the one thing that could be better.
Next question, submitted by Fast Run or Knee. Have you ever gone to a WNBA game? Did you know there was a WNBA?
Yeah, no, I've been going to the WNBA for a while. When I lived in Detroit, I used to go to the Detroit Shock games. Actually, I used to practice with them. Nancy Lieberman was the coach, and she would get some of the guys that worked for the Pistons and worked in the front office and what have you, and they'd come and scrimmage against the girls. And her feeling was, if they can play against the guys, that'll help prepare them when they, you know, are in season. It certainly was fun, and I'm a big supporter, and obviously now I have 2 daughters, and we come to a lot of games here in Phoenix to see the Mercury, and they had a great season last year and won the championship. So I do know about the WNBA, and I have been to plenty of games in Detroit, in Orlando when the Miracle were there, and here in Phoenix with the Mercury. Right.
Do you think there's other like crazy fanatical fanboys somewhere out there, like in the NBA, that have to go to every game, other than Sheldon Williams, of course?
Yeah, I mean, you know, obviously, you know, Sheldon goes because his wife is a big time player. But yeah, I think a lot of guys in the league go to games. I think they enjoy it. The atmosphere is great, and they're going to support their team. You know, and Phoenix is our team, and I go there to support them. I had a chance to get to know the young ladies on the team, and they're all great players and great people, and it's been fun following them and their success.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Final question, submitted by Dan11023. Who is your favorite teammate of all time?
Wow, my favorite teammate of all time.
You have to pick favorites right now, right here.
Right now. Wow, my favorite teammate. You know,
this is probably gonna be on Twitter. Just warning you. They'll see it.
They'll see it. You know, it's hard to pick one. You know, I think in certain times, certain eras, certain locations, I've had favorites. I say my favorite of all time was probably my college roommate, Tony Lang. We played together, you know, at Duke for 4 years. We were roommates for 4 years, and I think it's you know, when you live with somebody and you're in that, and you're going to class with them, you're in a study hall. You spend that much time with them, you really get to know them. And so. Do you talk to him today? You know what? We don't talk as much. He plays basketball in China, in Japan, and so the time differences certainly throw things off. But we can go a long period of time without talking, and when we see each other, it's because we play together, we live together, and we were friends. And he's just one of the best people in the world. Good, just a really solid person. And I'd probably say so. Tony Lang was definitely my favorite teammate.
All right.
Yeah.
Got that.
Sorry to all the other guys. I mean, Steve Nash, Lindsey Hunter, Allen Houston, Monty Williams. I mean, all those guys were great people and great friends of mine to this day. But I think Tony Lang is probably the best teammate.
There you go.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much
for
coming today. Guys, tune in next time to Digg Dialogg. You can watch previous dialogues at diggdialogg.com, D-I-G-G. Thank you very much for joining us, and good night. We're doing pig, but dig.
Dig and pig, right.
Again. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
D-I-G-G.
Thanks, Digg. D-I-G-G. For nothing. Or to no letter. Yeah, to nothing. All right.